All right, for this video, I want to go over how you can make IRA contributions in 2025 apply to your 2024 tax year and ultimately reduce your income and save on some federal income taxes. Now, I'm going to go through all the rules on traditional and Roth IRAs, the contribution limits for 2024, deadlines, deductibility. But I want to set the stage as far as the example that we're going to be looking with. So I've got a couple versions of a return for a taxpayer here. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a taxpayer that prepares their return. They haven't filed yet. And then they're asking this question: is there something I can do to try to help reduce my income for 2024, even though it's now 2025? So we'll look at the baseline return for this taxpayer, so no IRA contributions. And then we'll move on to a version where the taxpayer makes the maximum amount of IRA contribution that's eligible and has it applied in 2024, but there's going to be a partial deduction. This is an issue with traditional IRA contributions. And then we'll look at the third and final version where they contribute an amount where they get a full deduction for their IRA contribution. So if we go back to the IRS website, so why does this come up? Well, as I outlined in kind of the example fact pattern, we often prepare returns, or you might self-prepare your return, and then you're sitting there asking yourself, what can I do now, even though it's 2025, to try to help reduce my income tax? And unfortunately for individual taxpayers, there's not a lot you can do. And the problem is, individual taxpayers under the tax code work on a cash basis. So what that means is these items of income or expense, these events, they have to occur within the calendar year to apply to that tax year, right? Individuals don't operate on an accrual basis. IRA contributions are one of these unique little carve-outs where the IRS will allow you to make an IRA contribution in 2025 apply to 2024. Now, as we can see on their website here, in the contribution limits, so they have highlighted that if you're still working, you're reviewing your 2024 IRA contribution and deduction limits, you can make 2024 IRA contributions up until April 15th, 2025, right? So when you log into your brokerage account, whoever you have, Fidelity, Schwab, whatever it might be, if you want to make a contribution to your IRA, what you'll notice is if you're doing it now up until the filing deadline, there's a little drop-down menu that will allow you to select what year you want the contribution to apply to. So you have a little bit of a benefit of hindsight here in that you could prepare your return initially, have a look at it, and then say, well, maybe I can make a traditional IRA contribution to try to lower my income, and I'll have that apply retroactively, effectively. I'll have it apply to the 2024 year. So if we move on to the limits for 2024, so the 2024 contribution limits, and this applies across all of your IRAs. So whether it's traditional or Roth, whether you have multiple accounts across multiple custodians, the maximum that you can do for 2024 is $7,000, or if less, your taxable compensation for the year. And if you are 50 or older, you get the $1,000 catch-up provision, right? So you can do $8,000. All right, so think $7,000 in our mind, because that's what we're going to look at for our example. Now, the traditional IRA and a Roth IRA are the two main categories. Roth IRAs, when you make contributions to a Roth, in general, you're only allowed to do it if your income is below a certain threshold. And when you make those contributions to a Roth IRA, there's no tax deduction. So Roth IRA contributions are referred to as being made with after-tax dollars. Traditional IRAs, on the other hand, when you make contributions, you are generally allowed to take a tax deduction on your return for the amount that you put into the account. Here's the catch. If you are covered by a retirement plan at work, so if you're an employee and you have a 401k with that employer, you can still open a traditional IRA. You can put in the maximum per year, no problem there. However, when it goes to preparing your return and calculating the deduction that you might get, it's going to depend on your income range. And so in this page here, and of course I'll put links to all these pages in the description below if you want to go have a closer look at them. But what we can see here is, for example, if you're a single filing taxpayer and your modified AGI is $77,000 or less, whatever you put into that traditional IRA, you'll get a full deduction for. So if your modified AGI is, let's say, $75,000 and you put in $7,000, you will get a full $7,000 deduction, even though you're also covered by a retirement plan at work. Now, if your income is between 77 and 87, you get a partial deduction, and there's a worksheet with the return, which we'll look at to figure out how that deduction is calculated. And then if you make more than 87,000, you don't get any deduction at all. Now, here's where there needs to be some clarification. If you make more than $87,000, you can still put in the maximum amount to that traditional IRA, right? There's no limit there. However, you're not going to get a deduction for it. So you have to fill out a form 8606. We'll look at that as well. You have to track your basis in the traditional IRA because you weren't eligible for a traditional IRA deduction. All right. Okay, so let's get into the example, and hopefully this will make a bit more sense. So this is the baseline return for a taxpayer. So let's say we have Amy, taxpayer. She's a single filing taxpayer, and we can see in her income she has a W-2 salary of $80,000. We're also assuming she's covered by a retirement plan at work. She has a little investment income here. And then so her total AGI is a little over 80,000. She claims the standard deduction. And so when we get down to page 2, we can see taxes owed of $94.58, some withholding, and then she owes a little over $2,000, right? So that's her baseline return. Now she's asking, well, can I contribute to a traditional IRA to try to help minimize my tax? So the first variation here is the partial deduction for the IRA contribution. So let's say Amy discovers on the IRS website that she can make a $7,000 contribution to her traditional IRA. How does that impact her return? Now remember, she's making it now. So she's making it in, let's say, March or April, right before the April 15th, 2025 filing deadline. And she's telling her broker she wants it to apply to the 2024 tax year. So if she puts $7,000 into the IRA, hypothetically, how would that impact her return? Well, the first place we need to start is the worksheet. So when you make a traditional IRA contribution worksheet, you need to complete the IRA deduction worksheet to figure out, all right, did I put in too much, right? So did I max out the IRA? In other words, did I put in 9,000 when I should have only done 7? That's the first test. And then depending on what you did put in, presumably it's going to be below or at the threshold. How much can I actually deduct on my tax return? Now, I won't go through the entire worksheet on this video. I have more in-depth tutorials covering the IRA deduction worksheet. But as you go through this worksheet, what it does is it asks you a variety of yes or no questions, and then it does some math to try to figure out how much of the traditional IRA deduction you're eligible for, depending on your income and how much you put into the account. So the first question is always, were you covered by a retirement plan at work? Now, the reason why that's important is because if you're covered by a retirement plan at work, there's limitations on the deduction. If you're not covered by a plan at work, there's no limits. So in this case, she is covered by a plan at work, and so she completes the worksheet, right? So the phase out for no deduction is going to be $87,000. In her case, her modified AGI is $80,065. So now we're down to, when you subtract the two there, you're left with 6935 on question 6. Now, that serves as our baseline for figuring out how much of the traditional IRA contribution is going to be deductible. So when she goes on down to the rest of the worksheet, we look at line 7. So line 7 asks us to multiply the difference up here by 70%. So when we multiply that by 70% and round up to the nearest 10th multiple, we're left with $4,860. Now, the long and the short of it here is we can see on line 11, she put in $7,000 as she's allowed to, but the amount that she's going to be able to deduct is limited to $4,860. So even though she put in $7,000, she can only write off $4,860 because her income was above that $77,000 threshold, right? So as a reminder, if we look at the phase-out table here, if your income is between 77 and 87 for a single filing taxpayer, there's going to be a partial deduction. And so that's the situation she finds herself in. So instead of doing that, now again, this is allowed. You're allowed to do this. The catch is, though, if you do so, you now need to complete an 8606, and then you need to track the non-deductible contributions that were made to your traditional IRA. Perfectly fine. It's just more paperwork for you, right? And it's important because when you start to take traditional IRA distributions in the future, when you retire, you want to know what your basis is in the traditional IRA because you're not taxable on a return of principal. So as you start to take money out, you'll have to figure out, okay, if I withdraw 60 grand, how much of it is a return of principal versus how much it is income. And so that's going to impact your tax profile. So that's an option for Amy. Now she decides, well, this sounds like a lot more work. I don't want to do that. So what if I did a third option and I only contributed, now that I've calculated the maximum deduction available, what if I only put in that amount, right? And so we look at her third and final version of the return. So her income is the same, $80,000, $65 of interest income. Now when we go back and look at that IRA worksheet, so same computations as being done before, but when we get down to the bottom here, what Amy has done is instead of putting in the $7,000, she only transferred exactly $4,860. So she put in $4,860 knowing that the maximum deduction she would get is $4,860. So she didn't max out the traditional IRA, which means she doesn't have to track the basis. But under this scenario, a lot of taxpayers prefer this just because they think it's cleaner, right? They don't have to deal with tracking their basis, so it makes their lives easier. It makes the returns simpler. So now what's the impact of this? Well, if we look at as a reminder, the no IRA contributions, we can see the total tax she owed was $94.58. After the withholding, she was going to owe a little over $2,000. By going down this path where she contributed enough to meet that maximum traditional IRA mark, we can see we have the deduction for traditional IRA there on Schedule 1. So that dropped her AGI to 75. She's got the standard deduction. Now the taxes she owes are $83.91. She's still got the withholding there. And now the amount of tax she owes has been reduced to $891 rather than the $2,000 plus that she would have owed. So out of pocket, she's out of pocket more money, right? Because she has transferred some of her cash and savings into an IRA, which she's supposed to leave until retirement. But when you look at this from an income tax savings standpoint, this is not a bad idea. Now, just to wrap all this up and be clear, this example where we put $7,000 in and only got a partial deduction, the partial deduction is the same as, again, if we only put in the $4,860. So it's the same as the final version that we had here. So 891 in taxes owed, and then 891 in taxes owed for this version. But in this scenario where she maxed out the IRA with 7,000, she's got to do the 8606 to track the basis in a traditional IRA. So it's something to consider, right? I mean, again, this is a question I very often get from taxpayers when they get their return. They look at the bill or they look at the refund and think, well, my refund, I expected it to be higher or I expected to owe less tax. This is very often an easy option for you if you're looking to save money for retirement. And again, it can be done retroactively, right? As long as the amount is contributed before the filing deadline, April 15th, 2025, this will work. Now, really important to remember, extensions for your 1040 will not extend this deadline. So if you file an extension for your 1040, which moves it to October 15th, you still have to make the IRA contribution. You have to actually transfer the cash before April 15th, 2025. You can't wait until July or August or October to make that contribution. It still has to be before April 15th, 2025 if you want to apply retroactively to 2024. All right, so that covers it. I hope that was helpful. Show some simple examples of how that works and impacts your taxes. Again, I'll put all these links below in the description so you can go look at the materials yourself. And as always, I appreciate you watching and look forward to seeing you on the next update. Thank you.